Comment down below where you're watching from and don't forget to like and subscribe if you hate Karen. The ink on my mortgage papers was barely dry when I unlocked the door to what I believed would be a long-awaited sanctuary. A deep lot, shade trees, and, best of all, no HOA bylaws hovering over my weekends. The quiet street of Maple Crest felt like a cul-de-sac out of a postcard, sparrows chirping, sprinklers hissing, kids pedaling scooters under tulip poplars. I stacked moving boxes in the foyer and let out a sigh that tasted like relief. For the first time in years, I wouldn't need a permit to hang a wind chime or repaint shutters navy blue instead of the subdivision-approved beige. I was midway through uncoiling a garden hose in the backyard when she appeared, Karen, announcing herself with the cheery certainty of someone appointed to keep order by divine right. Khaki capris, clipboard, and that unmistakable I spot violations grin. "Hi, I'm Karen, the HOA president," she said, as though knighting me into her realm. I wiped my hands on my jeans, returned the handshake, and replied, "Pleasure," though my parcel was recorded outside the HOA boundary. For half a second her smile held, like a frozen animation frame waiting for the next command. Then her eyes twitched, the clipboard tilted, and some unseen subroutine in her head misfired. "Well, everybody on this block follows the guidelines," she insisted, tone bright but edges sharp. "We have rules about exterior colors and lawn height, you'll need to comply." I could feel the afternoon sun heating the flagstones, sense the promise of tranquility slipping. "I purchased this house specifically free of those obligations," I said, steady but firm. That's when Karen's system truly glitched, pupils wide, jaw flexing as though processing an impossible input. She backed away, muttering, "This isn't over," while I stood rooted, realizing my dream home had just inherited a living paradox, peaceful street, yes, but with an HOA president who refused to accept a boundary that legally existed. The morning after Karen's clipboard retreat, I expected nothing more than the thrum of cicadas and the scent of fresh-cut lumber from the deck contractor. Instead, the first salvo arrived in a crisp white envelope stamped HOA notice. Inside sat a single sheet, bullet-pointed and bold, "Lawn exceeds acceptable height, 7 inches. Exterior paint color not on Maple Crest palette. Unauthorized garden shed visible from street." At the bottom, a total, civil fine, $150 payable to Maple Crest HOA. I laughed out loud, the sound startling a robin on the fence. I wasn't laughing at the money, though the audacity amused me, but at the sheer gymnastics required to bill a non-member. Still, my developer brain nudged. "Document everything." I scanned the letter, saved it to a folder labeled HOA paper trail, and measured the lawn. 4 inches. I snapped photos with a ruler for scale and uploaded them too. Over the next week Karen's campaign bloomed like mold. 2 more envelopes arrived, then 3. Each bore escalating fines, one for improper trash bin placement, another for out-of-compliance window treatments. My blinds, apparently, offended community harmony. The fines now totaled $585. Tuesday, I flagged down the USPS carrier and asked if anyone else was getting these notices. He tipped his cap. "Nope. Just you, sir." That night I drafted a polite email to the HOA address printed on the letterhead, "To whom it may concern, 117 Maple Crest is not within HOA jurisdiction per county parcel map BK81. Kindly cease further correspondence. Regards, homeowner." The bounce back came 15 minutes later, mailbox full. A lovely metaphor, I thought. Karen's imaginary empire overflowing with her own paperwork. Undeterred, she upped the ante. Wednesday morning a neon orange violation tag fluttered from my mailbox post like a parking ticket. It warned that unpaid assessments would trigger a property lien. A lien on a parcel the HOA didn't govern. I plucked it off, slid it into the folder, and called county records. A clerk confirmed, Maple Crest HOA's recorded boundary stopped 2 lots shy of mine, hard line, no amendments pending. That afternoon I spotted Karen pacing the sidewalk, cell phone to ear, eyes darting at my front porch. I could almost hear the click of heels on concrete despite her sneakers. She radiated corporate urgency. When she noticed me watering petunias, she ended the call and approached, brandishing another envelope. "Thought I'd hand deliver," she chirped. "Appreciate the cardio," I said. "But the county confirmed your HOA stops at 1:15. I pointed down the block. "We're reviewing expansion," she replied too quickly. "In the meantime, we operate under provisional authority." "Provisional? By whose statute?" Her teeth flashed like a warning sign. "The community's expectations." She pivoted away before I could respond. That night I googled HOA overreach cases and found an online forum full of similar horror stories. Seasoned veterans urged 3 steps: record, reply in writing, stay calm. I had steps 1 and 3, time for step 2, certified mail. I drafted a formal cease and desist citing county plat boundaries, state harassment statute, and potential civil damages. I mailed it return receipt, signature required. Karen's own flourish would confirm delivery. 2 days later, the signature card returned, slanted cursive that looked more dagger than pen. Perfect. But Karen had a new tactic: social pressure. Saturday's neighborhood Facebook feed exploded with a post from Karen HOA president, titled, "Preserving Maple Crest Values." Without naming me, she lamented certain residents whose unkempt lawns threatened property prices. Photos followed, zoomed shots of my backyard, clearly taken through gaps in the fence. Comments split between sycophantic claps and skeptical emojis. I replied once, "Photo subject is private property outside HOA jurisdiction. Please remove." She deleted my comment within minutes. Screenshots, of course, lived on in the folder. By Sunday evening, I'd spent more time documenting Karen than unpacking moving boxes. But petty annoyance was hardening into resolve. Maple Crest had seemed idyllic because rules stayed invisible, until someone weaponized them. Karen didn't want conformity, she wanted obedience. I set 3 new camera angles, including one pointing toward the sidewalk. Motion alerts now pinged my phone anytime someone lingered near the mailbox more than 12 seconds. I installed a taller latch on the side gate and, for good measure, ordered a laminated sign, "Private property, not under HOA governance." Amazon promised next-day delivery. Then I brewed a pot of coffee and started cataloging fines in a spreadsheet, assigning each an internal ticket number like bugs in a codebase. If Karen insisted on playing bureaucracy, she'd meet a version she couldn't override, one grounded in statutes, timestamps, and chain of custody evidence. As midnight neared, I skimmed my growing dossier. 48 hours ago I'd been bewildered, now I felt oddly energized, like a puzzle had presented itself and all I needed was patience to slot the edge pieces. The final cell in the spreadsheet read total claimed fines, $885. I highlighted it green, then added another line, total owed, $0. Somewhere down the block, Karen's porch light clicked off. I pictured her drafting the next violation, convinced persistence would bend reality. She didn't know her target wrote code designed to resist denial of service attacks. Compared to that, an HOA president was just noise on the line. I closed the laptop, double-checked the door locks, and whispered a promise to myself, "Tomorrow, we escalate on my terms." The promised escalation arrived sooner than I expected, not from Karen but from an unmarked white van idling outside at 7:45 a.m. 2 men in khaki shirts embroidered, "Community Compliance," stepped out with clipboards. Through the kitchen window I watched them photograph my downspouts, measure the distance between trash bins and curb, peer at the eaves like home inspection vultures. Coffee in hand, I strolled outside. "Good morning, gentlemen. Who authorized this inspection?" The taller one cleared his throat. "Maple Crest HOA, sir." "Routine audit." "Routine requires jurisdiction," I replied, pointing to the parcel marker by the driveway. You're trespassing. The shorter guy checked his clipboard, frowned, then nudged his partner. They shuffled back to the van without apology. The engine coughed, and the van slunk away. I logged the plates. That afternoon Karen posted a triumphant message online: community compliance audit successful. Violators will be notified. I replied with the county map overlay and a polite question: which section grants jurisdiction over Lot 117? My comment stayed up for 7 minutes before disappearing. Another screenshot joined the dossier. Letters kept arriving, same font, same threats. They now referenced official inspection findings, alleging mismatched gutters and unauthorized play equipment, my daughter's swing set. Fines ballooned past $1,200. And every envelope arrived via first-class mail, meaning Karen spent real HOA funds to harass a non-member. I wondered if dues-paying residents realized where their money went. I phoned the HOA's listed treasurer, a retiree named Mr. Harold Price. He answered after 3 rings, voice wary. Mr. Price, this is the owner of 117 Maple Crest. I believe funds are being misused to target my property. He sighed. I've seen the invoices, yes. President says it's preventive action. Preventive against what? Boundaries drawn in 2004. Silence. Then, I'll raise it at the next board meeting. Please do. I'll be attending. I thanked him and hung up. The board met monthly in the elementary school library. When the evening arrived, I walked in with a slim folder, no need to unleash the whole archive yet. Karen sat center table, flag pin on her lapel, gavel poised. She blinked when she saw me but recovered quickly. Public comments start now, she chirped. I approached the podium. 2 quick points. First, 117 Maple Crest is outside HOA boundaries. Second, your president has spent $312.50 in postage and printing sending me unlawful fines. I held up the stamped receipts. Gasps fluttered among the dozen homeowners. Karen tapped the gavel. Out of order. He is not a member, exactly, I said. A chuckle rippled. Mr. Price raised a tentative hand. Madam President, maybe we should review? Karen's cheeks flushed. She shuffled papers, then declared, we'll table this. Meeting adjourned. Gavel slammed. Afterward, a soft-spoken woman approached. I'm Elaine Porter, secretary. Frankly, I didn't realize you weren't in the HOA. Karen told us you were provisional. I handed her the county plat. Her eyes widened. By week's end, Elaine forwarded minutes showing a motion to suspend further correspondence with me pending legal review. Karen had voted no, the rest voted yes. Small victory. Yet harassment didn't stop. On Saturday I discovered a yard sign staked by my mailbox, NON-compliant property, lower property values. Red letters on white corrugated plastic. Neighbors would think I'd posted it myself if not for the accusatory wording. I yanked it out, photographed it, added it to the dossier, and installed a motion spotlight. That night the cameras caught Karen's teenage nephew planting fresh signs. Police reviewed footage and issued a warning for criminal mischief. I chose not to press charges, yet. I wanted bigger fish, a harassment injunction. Julian Wright, a civil rights-minded attorney referred by a friend, reviewed my file. Textbook overreach, he said. We'll send a demand letter. Cease harassment, reimburse costs, public apology. If they balk, we sue under state tort law. He drafted the letter on crisp letterhead, citing every statute. We send it certified. My phone pinged when Karen's signature posted. Response deadline, 10 days. Day 8 passed in silence. On day 9, an SUV parked outside at midnight, engine running. Camera caught Karen inside, staring at my house. She didn't exit, After 5 minutes she drove off. Creepy, yes, but legally ambiguous. I logged the footage and set an alert zone across the street. Deadline day arrived. No response. Julian prepared the complaint. At 5 p.m., an email popped up, subject, Good Neighbor Resolution Offer from Karen's personal address. It proposed a meeting to discuss mutual understanding, no apology, no reimbursement. Julian advised ignoring it, too little, too late. We filed in county court the next morning. Serving papers would require a process server, and I preferred daylight. Karen, however, preferred spectacle. That afternoon she marched up my driveway with a bullhorn, yes, a bullhorn, and shouted, unneighborly conduct. Refusal to comply. The racket triggered porch lights down Maple Crest. I stood at the window, phone ready to dial 911, when Mr. Price rushed over and physically guided her away, apologizing profusely. The neighborhood group chat lit up with disbelief. By bedtime, I had a new alert from the HOA Facebook page. Emergency meeting tomorrow regarding leadership. Elaine Porter messaged privately, please attend. I went to sleep recognizing the pattern I'd seen in software rollouts, a failed deployment followed by rollback. Karen had become the bug, and the community was about to patch. Monday afternoon in Maple Crest usually smelled of grill starters and lawn clippings. Today it reeked of kerosene-grade tension. The emergency HOA meeting wasn't scheduled until 7, but Karen must have sensed the tide turning. At 4 o'clock she arrived flanked by her twin nephews, tall, wiry teens armed with weed whackers, and an older man I presumed was her brother, Warren, towing a riding mower in the bed of a pickup. I was sipping iced tea on the porch when the convoy stopped in front of my driveway. Karen hopped out, clipboard raised like a prosecutor's exhibit. Final courtesy call, she announced. Your lawn violates community standards. We're here to rectify it at cost to you. I set down my glass. Step on my property, and you're trespassing. She smirked. Already filed the annexation paperwork. Effective retroactively. County clerk says otherwise, I replied calm, though adrenaline pulsed. I pressed record on my phone. Warren unloaded the mower, revved the engine. The twin nephews yanked starter cords on the whackers. Their two-stroke growls joined the mower's roar. A makeshift yard care cavalry. My neighbor, Mrs. Chu, peeked over her azalea hedge. Everything okay? She called. Working on it, I said, forcing a smile. The mower lurched up my driveway. I stepped in front, palms out. You need to turn around. Warren throttled down but didn't disengage. Just doing community service, pal. Community service doesn't override property law, I answered. Karen raised her phone, obviously live streaming. See this, everyone? We offered free maintenance, and he threatens us. I didn't threaten, so I spoke louder for the camera. Leave my property or I call police. She gestured to the nephews. They advanced, trimmer lines whirring dangerously close to my shins. I retreated 3 steps, enough to avoid a sliced ankle but not enough to cede the driveway. My phone beeped, motion alert from the side yard. On screen, I watched Shadow and Tank in their kennel, pacing, keyed up by the noise. I dialed 911 on speaker. Non-emergency, I told dispatch, trespassers operating machinery on private property, 117 Maple Crest. The dispatcher asked if weapons were involved. Gas trimmers, I said. She assured units were en route. Warren revved again, inching forward. I moved left. The mower's deck gouged a crescent into the asphalt edging. Karen whooped, property damage, your negligence. The absurdity sparked fury, but fury cooled quickly, documentation mattered more than shouting. I snapped photos of the fresh scrape. Sirens wailed in the distance. The nephews faltered, killed their engines. Warren idled. Karen's smug expression finally cracked. 2 patrol cars rolled up. Out stepped Officer Marta Delgado, same deputy who'd taken my earlier complaint, and Officer Riley, a tall rookie. Delgado approached me first. "Report says we have trespass with power equipment." I nodded. "They drove the mower onto my driveway after repeated warnings." Delgado turned to the group. "Ma'am, sir, boys, please cut the engines." Warren obeyed, clanging the mower to silence. Karen launched into her speech. "This homeowner refuses to maintain his lawn to minimum standards. As HOA president, I'm authorized to enforce compliance." Delgado raised a hand. "According to County Plat, this lot is not within HOA jurisdiction." She glanced at me. "He has documentation, we have it on file from previous incident." Karen flushed. "The annexation was never approved," I interjected. Clerk's stamp, rejected. Delgado's eyes hardened. "That makes this criminal trespass and potential vandalism." She motioned to Riley, who photographed the driveway gouge and measured depth against a ruler. Warren began stammering apologies. The nephews stared at their shoes. Karen pivoted, phone still streaming. "Police intimidation," she shouted to the lens. "This is systemic bias against homeowner associations." Delgado sighed. "Ma'am, please step aside." She took statements separately, starting with Mrs. Chu, then me. Meanwhile, Riley issued citations to Warren and the nephews for trespass with motorized equipment. Delgado presented Karen with a choice: sign a notice banning her from my property or be arrested for trespass and disorderly conduct. The phone live stream trembled in her hand. Chat icons, tiny hearts and laugh-cry faces, popped across the screen. She realized her audience wasn't rooting for her. Tears pooled, but she swallowed them, scribbled her signature, and handed the clipboard back. The treaty of driveway concluded. Officers left after 15 minutes. The aftermath: mower gouge, scattered grass clippings, Karen's signature on police form number 302B. Warren loaded the mower, muttering apologies I accepted wearily. The nephews avoided eye contact, then climbed into the truck. As the convoy pulled away, Mr. Harold Price shuffled over, cheeks red with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "The board didn't authorize her stunt. Tonight he paused, swallowing. "We'll address leadership." "Hope so, Mr. Price," I replied. "The neighborhood deserves peace." 7 p.m. found the elementary school library packed. Folding chairs overflowed into aisles. Elaine Porter tapped the microphone. "We have quorum to consider removal of President Karen Davis for misconduct." Karen sat front row, eyes red, lips tight. A hush fell as Officer Delgado, yes, in uniform, entered to provide a factual timeline of events. Gasps punctuated her narrative when she described the bullhorn, the driveway scrape, the live stream. Elaine called the vote. Hands rose, first hesitant, then a forest. Only Karen stayed down. Motion passed, 4-1. Elaine announced an interim leadership committee, thanked Officer Delgado, and adjourned. Karen slumped out a side door, followed by Warren. I didn't feel triumph, only relief, and an undercurrent of pity. She'd built identity on authority, losing it left a vacuum only she could fill. Back home, I let Shadow and Tank out. They sniffed the mower gouge, then trotted to the porch for treats. I sat on the steps, stroking their heads, watching maple leaves flutter under streetlights. For the first time since moving in, Maple Crest sounded like the sanctuary I'd bought, quiet. Removal from office didn't end Karen's reach. Like a lizard shedding tail, she left behind twitching defenses in the form of pending fines and an annexation petition still clogging county bureaucracy. Julian filed a summary judgment motion to quash all financial claims. We requested fees, damages, and a public apology printed in the local paper. Court date, 4 weeks. Karen countered with a civil suit alleging emotional distress, loss of reputation, and damage to career prospects due to viral defamation. She sought $50,000. Her husband Grant, a real estate attorney, filed the papers. Julian chuckled, "He's out of his comfort zone, real estate law ain't torts." Pre-trial discovery proved entertaining. Grant produced printouts of Facebook threads, dozens of memes mocking Karen. Julian pointed out Karen herself had posted the live stream. Self-inflicted, the judge later noted. Julian subpoenaed HOA financials. The ledger revealed $2,946 spent on postage, printing, and compliance inspections, exclusively targeting my address. Dues-paying residents had funded her vendetta. When that news hit the community forum, support for Karen cratered. Even her previous allies demanded reimbursement. Week before trial, Grant proposed mediation. Julian advised attending to appear reasonable. At the courthouse conference room, Karen arrived subdued, hair pulled back, no clipboard in sight. Grant opened, "Our clients are prepared to rescind fines and withdraw the annexation petition if Mr. Bennett," he still stumbled on my last name, "agrees to drop his countersuit and refrain from further social media commentary." Julian smiled politely. "My client never posted commentary, only unedited video. He will, however, accept rescission, reimbursement of documented costs, and a written apology subject to our approval. He will also require HOA bylaws amended to prevent unilateral action by any future president." Karen's eyes widened at written apology. She whispered to Grant, he whispered back. They requested a recess. During the break, Elaine Porter texted me, "Board ready to settle dues reimbursement, vote tomorrow. Momentum on our side." Karen returned, chin lifted. "Fine," she said. Apology, reimbursement, bylaw amendment, but no admission of racial bias. Julian raised an eyebrow at me. I nodded. We could accept, video spoke louder than legal admissions. Mediation agreement signed, we set deadlines, 30 days for payment, apology within 10. Fines vanished from my mailbox, so did Karen's presence on our street. Rumor had it she'd taken a short-term rental across town. Yet Maple Crest still buzzed. At the next HOA meeting, residents debated raising dues by $5 to replenish the compliance budget Karen had drained. Someone proposed renaming the role Community Coordinator to avoid President Power trips. Elaine promised transparency. During open forum, Mrs. Chu suggested a neighborhood picnic to heal. I volunteered my smoker. Laughter erupted, irony rich, considering harassment began with lawn and grill critiques. Meanwhile, the viral saga reached local TV. A news crew requested a follow-up, Life After Karen. I hesitated, but Julian approved a limited interview. On camera, I emphasized boundaries, civility, and due process. The segment aired with B-roll of Shadow and Tank chasing tennis balls. Ratings soared. Karen's apology arrived on HOA letterhead, published in the Maple Crest Gazette. I sincerely apologize for any distress caused by my actions toward the homeowner at 117 Maple Crest. I acknowledge that my enforcement efforts exceeded HOA jurisdiction and regret the inconvenience and tension this created. No mention of trespass, but adequate. Payment followed, a cashier's check covering damages, legal fees, lawn repair. Julian's account, satisfied. Closure. Almost. The driveway gouge still scarred asphalt. Warren stopped by unannounced with bags of cold patch and resurfacing tools. "Let me fix it," he said. I agreed. Under summer sun, we shoveled, tamped, sealed. Sweat equalized us, two homeowners mending more than pavement. That evening the picnic unfolded on the community green. Kids ran obstacle courses, Elaine flipped burgers. I smoked brisket. Residents toasted new bylaws. Someone started a neighborhood Slack channel, digital civility enforced by collective, not a lone president. Karen did not attend, though her Lexus idled at the far end of the block for a few minutes before disappearing. Part of me hoped she'd join, share lemonade, laugh about mistakes. But healing can't be forced. Maybe distance was her version of peace. As dusk settled, I reclined in a camp chair, Naomi's hand in mine, dogs snoring at our feet. Maple Crest's porch lights flickered one by one, fireflies answering back. I realized the neighborhood felt bigger now, like a room after walls have been repainted brighter. Conflict had forced conversations about power, privilege, and property lines that otherwise stay hushed. Sunlight had disinfected. Yet one square on Julian's litigation Kanban board remained, in progress, County Review of Annexation Abuse. Commissioners planned a hearing on stricter oversight before any HOA could expand boundaries without majority approval of affected lots. I submitted written testimony, a simple narrative of a lawn, a sign, a bullhorn, and the law that prevailed. If passed, Karen's overreach would translate into protection for future homeowners. Midnight found me back on my porch. I opened the badge-flagged folder on my laptop, HOA paper trail. Nearly 300 files, photos, PDFs, screenshots. I dragged it into an archive drive, zipped it, labeled it historic. Not deleted, history matters, but out of daily sight. Inside, Naomi slept. Shadow and Tank curled on their bed. I watched the moonlight silver the fresh driveway patch and whispered gratitude to the quiet. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd finally plant those tomato seedlings. No form required. September's first meeting of the County Commission drew a larger crowd than budget season ever did. Item 3 on the agenda, Proposed Ordinance 22417, HOA Expansion Oversight. I arrived early, dossier trimmed to essentials. Elaine Porter sat beside me, representing Maple Crest's humbled board. Commissioner Alvarez opened the floor. Karen was there, too, now just a citizen. She sat several rows back, jaw set. Grant accompanied her, whispering. I spoke first. My experience shows how a single leader exploited fuzzy boundaries to harass a non-member. Transparent process protects everyone, owners, HOAs, and property values. Karen requested time. She stepped to the podium, voice thin. I acted within perceived authority to maintain standards. The backlash I endured demonstrates homeowners value order. Murmurs rose, she pressed on. Overregulation of HOAs will cripple our ability to deter blight. Commissioners questioned her on the trespass video. She blamed misinformation. Commissioner Alvarez asked why annexation papers were rejected. Grant interjected about clerical errors. The room tensed, truth felt stretched. Elaine followed, describing postage costs and membership unrest. Our president's unchecked actions hurt trust. Oversight ensures we serve, not rule. Public comment ended. Commissioners deliberated 20 minutes, then unanimously passed Ordinance 22417. Effective immediately, any HOA boundary expansion required notarized consent from 75% of affected non-member parcels plus a public hearing. Maple Crest wouldn't attempt annexation again. Outside, reporters swarmed. Karen hurried off. I answered one question: boundaries exist for good reasons, nothing about cutting grass requires cutting rights. Headlines next morning: County tightens reins on rogue HOAs. Life settled. Karen sold her house quietly, rumor citing new start. A moving truck loaded boxes while residents watched behind curtains. No jeers, no applause, just silence, a final boundary. Winter approached. Maple leaves fell, covering lawns in gold. HOA volunteers, myself included, raked together, chatting about holiday lights instead of bylaws. Mrs. Chu taught me to wrap twinkle strands for maximum sparkle. One evening Elaine stopped by with the revised budget, dues stable, legal fund replenished, a new line item labeled, Community Mediation Reserve. She laughed. Insurance against the next Karen. I signed up for the safety committee. Why not funnel my camera obsession into neighborhood patrol? On first walk, I noted street lamp outages and loose manhole covers, felt productive, not paranoid. Shadow and Tank loved the night rounds. Neighbors greeted them by name. Kids on scooters practiced sit commands with treats. The dogs had gone from villains in Karen's narrative to mascots of Maple Crest. Christmas Eve, Naomi and I hosted Coco on the porch. Carolers stopped, sang Silent Night. Snow began to dust the cedar fence. I remembered my first snow globe from childhood, shake, swirl, settle. Maple Crest felt like that now, flakes stilling after a stormy shake-up. I raised my mug. To healed fences, I whispered. Naomi clinked hers. From afar, in the hush of falling snow, I thought I heard a clipboard drop. Just memory echoing, but I smiled anyway. March thaw revealed tulip sprouts, the soft promise of renewal. Unexpectedly, a handwritten letter slipped through my mail slot bearing a return address I recognized, Karen Davis, Meadowbrook Apartments. Curious, I unfolded it. I'm writing not as former HOA president but as neighbor in the broader sense. Therapy has helped me see how control masked insecurity. I wronged you in Maple Crest. Please accept my apology, no excuses. Enclosed donation for the community garden. Karen, a cashier's check for $500 accompanied it. Naomi read the letter twice. People can grow, she said softly. Elaine, when informed, suggested accepting the donation anonymously. At the next HOA meeting, we announced a community garden fund contribution without naming the donor. Seeds ordered, raised beds plotted. Kids painted signs, Sunflower Lane, Veggie Village. Spring planting day bloomed with laughter and muddy knees. I supervised compost mixing, Mrs. Chu distributed seedlings. The donation covered benches and a rain barrel system bearing a discreet plaque, for growth and grace. News of Maple Crest's turnaround reached the same reporter. She aired a follow-up, from conflict to community. Cameras captured children watering carrot tops, shadow snoozing in shade, neighbors trading zucchini recipes. Ratings decent, comments hopeful. One afternoon, I noticed a familiar Lexus driving slowly past, windows rolled down. Karen. She paused, smiled faintly, waved. I waved back, not invitation, but acknowledgement. The car rolled on. Late May, Naomi and I hosted the first Maple Crest movie night on our expansive lawn, you know, the one once deemed too unkempt. A rented projector beamed the Princess Bride onto a white sheet hung from the cedar fence. Popcorn perfumed the evening, fireflies blinked approval. Kids quoted lines. Inconceivable. Adults laughed, maybe at echoes of our own unbelievable saga. During credits, Elaine whispered, "Remember when this yard was a battleground?" I surveyed the blanket-strewn grass, groomed, but on my terms. "Now it's a commons," I said. She nodded. And commons need caretakers, not rulers. I thought of Karen's letter, the county ordinance, the bylaw changes. Governance shaped neighborhoods, yes, but character kept them whole. Shadow stretched, Tank rolled onto his back for belly rubs from giggling toddlers. A year ago some of these parents might have clutched their kids tighter. Now they trusted. Trust, I'd learned, grows like a garden, cultivated, watered, sometimes pruned. It can survive frosts of fear and bloom brighter for it. As guests packed up, Mrs. Chu handed me a jar of homemade plum wine. "For the gardener's heart," she said. Naomi and I clinked tiny glasses under starlight. At midnight, lawn tidy, projector packed, I shut off porch lights and listened, just wind through maples and faint hum of faraway traffic, a peaceful palette of sound. Maple Crest, once a battlefield of clipboards and bullhorns, had settled into melody. And those second chances aren't owed, they sometimes arrive nonetheless, like a donated cashier's check sprouting sunflowers where suspicion once rooted. A year after the first video blew up, analytics showed views plateauing. The internet had moved to fresh drama, leaving our saga archived in Best HOA Meltdowns compilations. Good riddance. Yet one echo remained. University sociology students emailed requesting permission to cite the case in papers about micropower structures. Julian vetted requests, we granted most. If our ordeal educated future planners, silver lining achieved. Maple Crest's community garden thrived. Tomatoes overtook steaks, bees buzzed lavender rose. A small sign credited anonymous donors. Only a few knew Karen seeded part of that growth. Secrets sometimes serve peace. Naomi launched a blog, From No HOA to Whole HOA, sharing tips on conflict documentation, neighbor diplomacy, and dog-positive PR. Her post, How to Turn Rottweilers into Reputation Rescue, trended on pet forums. One quiet Thursday evening, I uploaded the last update video, drone footage of Maple Crest sunset, text overlay, peace built, not policed. I disabled comments, letting the imagery speak. My channel's subscriber count dipped, drama addicts departing, but the silence felt right. Some stories end not with a bang but with a satisfied breath. Summer's first heatwave pressed heavy when Commissioner Alvarez invited me to speak at a county workshop, balancing HOA authority and homeowner rights. I almost declined. Public speaking still twanged nerves, but Naomi said, share the blueprint. At the dais, I outlined 5 principles. Transparent maps, due process, documented dialogue, shared mediation funds, and yes, good fences, literal and legal. I used slides, before and after photos of my driveway, the bullhorn incident freeze frame, the garden today. Audience questions ranged from, how to handle nosy neighbors, to, what breed are your dogs? Afterward, an elderly couple approached, eyes misting. We fought our HOA for 10 years. Your ordinance just saved us. They shook my hand. That night Naomi and I dined under the pergola draped in wisteria, a new addition we built without a single permit form. Solar fairy lights glowed. I toasted, may boundaries always guard possibilities, not cages. Shadow and Tank dozed nearby, paws twitching mid-dream. I leaned back, feeling the cedar floorboards warm beneath bare feet, and reflected, documentation turned accusations into evidence. Calm words outlast shouted orders. Community can correct itself once truth surfaces. And sometimes the loudest defender of order needs boundaries most. I closed my eyes, listened to crickets chirp, and felt a contentment unencumbered by clipboards or citations. Peace, earned and nurtured, had become more than the absence of conflict, it was presence of mutual respect. 2 years on, Maple Crest looks ordinary to passers-by, kids chalk hopscotch, mailboxes painted various blues, lawn ornaments ranging from gnomes to Naomi's wind chime collection. Variety testifies to a neighborhood that learned uniformity isn't prerequisite for harmony. The HOA now rotates committee leads annually, power diffuse, responsibility shared. Elaine stepped down after her term, Mr. Price handles finances with a transparent spreadsheet posted monthly. I chair the Safety and Technology Subcommittee, ensuring cameras improve security, not surveillance. At dusk, I walk Shadow and Tank along the loop. New residents wave. Some heard rumor of the incident. Most don't know details. That's fine. Lore fades, lessons remain. Karen. Last we heard, she purchased a condo in a downtown high-rise, no lawns to police, HOA managed by professionals. I wish her peace. Tonight, Naomi and I sit by the fire pit under the pergola. Sparks drift upward like tiny lanterns. She reads aloud from her latest blog comments, thank yous from strangers who found courage to contest unfair fines. Who knew our headache would help others, she muses. I smile. Transformation often begins with friction. She leans against me. We watch flames dance, aware seasons will cycle storms and blossoms alike. But boundaries, clear, respected, and alive, stand evergreen. Somewhere down the block, wind rustles through maples, and I think back to day one, sun warming flagstones, a clipboard, a glitch. How far we've come. I toss another log onto the fire, hear it crackle, and whisper to the night, Maple Crest, your home, HOA or no HOA. And that's finally, wonderfully, that.